This is 23:31 GMT on Wednesday, the 29th of July, 2020. The updates on the crane collapse in Bow E3. The crane collapsed on the Wednesday, the 8th of July, 2020, immediately killing 85-year-old June Harvey and injuring at least another 4 people, and creating absolute alarm and scare and uncertainty in the whole area. Now, that was 21 days ago. 8th of July, 21 days ago, exactly to the day. 3 weeks ago. 21 days, that is 3 weeks ago, this happened. And it has taken the Communist Party daily newspaper, which boasts as the world's only English language socialist or left-wing newspaper, which statement is false, but it does boast it. It has taken 3 weeks before it publishes the call that crane security has to be established. Crane security. Now, it gives a list of various incidents and accidents of cranes killing people, killing crane drivers themselves. And it says that the various incidents, especially one in South London that happened a few years ago, compelled the particular government, which was fronted by Gordon Brown at the time, 2009, to pass a legislation that came somewhere near securing or establishing or creating a regime for crane security. But being the morning scar, which is what we call it because it distorts the basic facts, it gets the whole perspective wrong. Because, first of all, the paper is based in the same area where the crane collapsed on the 8th of July 2020. Does it take 3 weeks for the Morning Star to get there? That shows the glaring disconnect between the so-called socialist, revolutionary, communist daily newspaper for the workers and the abandoned community of victims and neighbors that it abandoned and forgot for 3 weeks on the next road, literally. So that is the illustration of what we have been saying for years online about the fact-based negligence and unfitness and dysfunctionality of this communist daily newspaper, the Morning Star. So we shall be updating on other things, but that is the first thing that we wanted to update in this bulletin, and that is accessed in the last less than 4 hours, because it went online about 4 hours ago, and we accessed it in the last 4 hours. And what we are saying is that is not only not enough, it is useless, and it doesn't hold the local council or the local authority accountable. Something we have been arguing for, holding the council accountable now for 21 days. We have been saying it every day. So we are saying it again, that the Communist Morning Star has to stop lying and stop distorting and stop deviating and stop being in denial. The kind of traits, negative traits, antisocial traits, anti-socialist traits that are found in abundance in the behavior of the diminutive Tower Hamlets Mayor John Biggs. Diminutive is a description given by somebody who knows London E3. His name is Dan Sabag. And Dan Sabag worked for a while as a political advisor to the former Bethnal Green and Bow MP, Una King. So Dan Sabak is now an executive editor at The Guardian, and he wrote in April 2018 that when he visited Tower Hamlets just before the 2018 mayoral election, which was he visited it in April, and the election took place the next month, the 3rd of May, he noticed that John Biggs was diminutive. That is the observation. Now, it is obviously a description that we have been very accurately, regularly repeating in order to emphasize the point about John Biggs being diminutive and his role being the diminution of duty. That is the reason why we have actually been regularly using it. Now, diminutive John Biggs and the diminutive Morning Star and the diminutive Communist Party of Great Britain are no friends of ordinary local people affected by the diminution of duties to safeguard the community that is exhibited in the behavior of the local Tower Hamlets Council. And so therefore we say to John Biggs that the so-called media office that we contacted several times in the last 3 weeks since the deadly killer crane collapse took place in Gale Street, Watts Grove, Bow area, London E3. And the media office is completely useless. It's worse than useless. We were told during today, Tuesday, the 29th of July, the latest call that we made to that number, that we should contact the police. Now, that was a statement made to us in response to our question. What has the Tower Hamlets Council to say about its negligent role and its role in allowing the deadly structure concrete to operate with a license from the council? And that was the answer. And then the person who answered in that way suggested that we send them an email. Now, for the record, we have no problem in sending emails to Tower Hamlets Council. In fact, our organization, with my mobilizing representative locus and role, is the historic organization that has sent, created, authored, written, verified, followed up, literally thousands of emails, thousands of communications, thousands of questions, hundreds of thousands of issues, topics we have raised, I have raised in decades since the Tower Hamlets Council was created in April 1965. In fact, 2 years before, since 2 years before the council was created with an amalgamation or merging of the 3 then locally existing boroughs, Poplar, Stepney, and Bethnal Green. Now, this is the council that is telling us to send it emails. It is in denial. We have the world's record collection of original, exclusive, investigative, evidential mountain to condemn this council and its perpetrating, controlling post holders, diminutive or less than diminutive, whatever their height and whatever their height of hypocrisy and stupidity, this is an unfit council. And it has employed equally unfit personnel who don't see the difference between question and answer. They give a plastic answer. Police are not responsible for giving planning permission to unsafe structure operators. And police cannot explain the sequence of events that took place, must have taken place before that particular license was granted to Swan building, one of the degenerators that we have actually been talking about. That degenerator was the one that contracted the building operation or started the building operation by using prefabricated constructions and models and frames, placing those according to their so-called plan by use of a crane that was too wobbly, too unsafe, too insecure, too untested. And the council has not made any statement about any of that. The council could have killed entire families. More people could have died. And it was a complete coincidence that they didn't die, but they could have died. And as the Communist Morning Star has reluctantly now admitted, there have been other mishaps and mistakes, and crane security has been a serious threat, and they have given all kinds of stats from the various bodies that have been involved in counting the actual damage after the event has been perpetrated. Now, there has been still now, I mean, this is now 21 days, and as far as I can see, there is no noise made by any of the councillors, not generally sitting councillors on Tower Hamlets Council, nor particular councillors from that particular ward. Not that I have noticed. If there is anyone who has noticed, they can tell us and we can update our statement of that. We are not saying that anything that may have been issued, which we are leaving as a possibility, anything that may have been issued by any of the councillors or in their name or on their behalf would not be anything to remember, because it would not challenge the catastrophic negligence exhibited by the regime of diminutive John Biggs. And we are saying this because their behavior has been consistent with stooging role on everything. Now, the dilemma that the community faces about electoral vote-based democracy is this. Now, these people are the main set of candidates that will be seeking re-election come the next election. So, how to get rid of them? Laila Moran, who is now vying to become the leader of the Lib Dems centrally, Laila Moran doesn't seem to understand places like Tower Hamlets. Tower Hamlets, Lib Dems, or the Social Democrats or the SDP Liberals, was the area or the borough or the site or the scene of so much corruption, racism, wanton hate incitement by the SDP liberal regime that took place during its hold in power by a fluke 1986 council election. The 1990 election, which was not a fluke, but which was won by the same group, was contributed to by my campaign against the Neil Kinnock fronted Labour Party, which was complicit in blocking my candidature as a Labour candidate because of the corrupt, lying, dishonest, surrogate, supplicatory, servile information that the Labour Party was given, the white Labour Party leadership was given about my being not believing in Labour Party values. Now, everything I believe and have believed has been more than consistent with the founding aims and objectives of the Labour Party of the community. But the problem is that Kinnock, like John McDonnell last year, was out of touch with the reality of Tower Hamlets. So I told Kinnock that a bunch of crooks had taken over controlling decision-making positions in Tower Hamlets Labour Party, and he must not listen to them and he must override them and ask me to stand as a Labour candidate. If I had done that, I would have defeated the Lib Dems or the SDP Liberal at that time, at that election in 1990. I was not allowed, I was prevented from doing that, so I mobilized an alternative, community based Tower Hamlets community campaign in 1990. It was so effective that people got completely discouraged from voting Labour in sufficient numbers. And at the count of the election, one of the SDP Liberals, John, he admitted to me that it was my campaign that had actually let them in because it had destroyed the credibility appeal of the then Crooks constituted cabal of Tower Hamlets Labour Party. And so therefore this is historic note about absolutely central dysfunction and the history of dysfunction and my role in exposing dysfunction, opposing dysfunction, and acting against corruption inside the Labour Party, within the community, and against the crooks that both in the Labour Party and any other party were holding positions or allegedly speaking for the community. Now, in the last 3 weeks, no statement has come out from the Labour Party or the Lib Dems or the Conservatives or any other party about the crane crash. What does it say? The KhoodeelaarTV campaign is the only one which has been speaking, advocating, analyzing, updating, investigating, correlating, and commenting and commentating on the crane collapse on the 8th of July 2020. So we are saying that it is not the fault of any party's finance, or the excuse cannot be made about lack of resources in the party or lack of resources in the kitty or in the council's reserves or anything like that. The lack of actual will, the lack of actual respect for democracy, accountability, and the care, lack of care for the community is what is to blame. So we need people to understand that the councillors, whatever their color, their religion, their background, their gender, whatever, they must be assessed now, years before the next due election. And they should be assessed by relating their behavior to catastrophic, deadly events like the crane crash. And if they are found to be failing, if they are found to be capitulating again with the diminutive John Biggs and his diminutive regime in denial, then the community must mobilize an alternative way to dislodge this sitting set of councillors. How we do that depends on how the community actually is prepared to mobilize. It is not going to affect one individual in the community, in the borough. It is going to affect many people, numbers of people who will be surprised and shocked by the accidents that are waiting to happen. Today's news also includes the fact that Salah Council has got buildings. In the context of Grenfell and the cladding, Salah Council has got 20 plus buildings that are in need of being freed from cladding. And in the same report in Sadak News today, it lists other London councils, and one of the other councils in London that the Sadak News lists as having failed or neglected to get rid of cladding, dangerous Grenfell-like or Grenfell Tower-like claddings, is Tower Hamlets. So again, like the Bromley Bromley by Bow, that is the name of the word, but like the Bow London E3 area crane crash, Tower Hamlets Council is sitting quietly, hiding its face, collective face and the diminutive face, in denial face, and pretending and expecting that no one will notice that it has got more than 20 buildings with dangerous claddings on them, which means that if any accident happens, it is quite likely that a lot of people will lose their lives. So that is Tower Hamlets Council. Anyone who makes a comment like this is to be lauded and respected and recognized and taken note of. Instead, the diminutive bigs has set in motion a kind of whispering campaign that anyone who points to the failure of the dangerously irresponsible council is the enemy of the community. We are the defenders of the community of all races and backgrounds, and we shall be defending the rights in accordance with the law. And we shall be doing this regularly and to the point, on the facts, on the evidence. And we shall be doing this 24/7. And anyone who has any questions about our campaign can get in touch by social media. By otherwise, they can send us a message in confidence. And if they've got evidence about wrongdoing by the council, wrongdoing by the MPs, wrongdoing by anybody else in post in the name of the community, they can get us to respond to their requests for information and support. And we shall do our best to support and mobilize and advise. And this is how we are going to campaign for the scrapping of the post of mayor, campaign for the removal of the list of barriers that they have created, Biggs has created against people getting hold of genuinely bona fide services from the council, including housing, of course, but not exclusively or only about housing. There are all kinds of areas, all kinds of responsibilities which the central government the parliament legislates for central government to distribute and delegate the administration, the implementation of particular services, and those are done by the particular local council. In Tower Hamlets, the council has been a dysfunctional council, as the theme is, because people who are the councillors are dysfunctional, silent, and deficient in awareness of their democratic responsibility. And we shall be keeping an eye on all of that, and we shall be updating in due course every single day. And we'll be doing this based on the dedication to universal values and aims and objects are as set out in our publications. And we shall be updating the disclaimer as to what other issues we shall be focusing on in terms of the law, in terms of incitement to hatred and disaffection that is being encouraged by certain quarters in the borough, because they want to let people stay ignorant about our House Council's failure, the MP's failures, the Labour Party's failures, or failures of the others in power and in control of the various decisions they make that affect the lives and livelihoods and this welfare and well-being of the people in the community. And again, we are saying that those people who have got big fishes in small waters in their homes, please get help and get these fishes safely out of your places. This is cruelty to the fishes. There are many fishes in Tower Hamlets. We know that because we have seen that. And the council has to take its responsibility to safeguard the animals, protect the animals safely. And we have other stories about cruelty to animals being done by charities run in Tower Hamlets, from Tower Hamlets, and the Tower Hamlets Council is failing to do anything about this. Just like the building security, that Tower Hamlets Council doesn't care. And this all again boils down to and comes back to the silence, willing silence, কুম্ভকর্ণের ঘুম, জানিয়া ঘুমায় ইতা মুর্দা, ইতা জিতা জিতা আছে কিন্তু মুর্দার হক্কর করে। এই যে মুর্দাগিরি করা এরা কাউন্সিলর, মানে এরা তো আমরা মানুষের নাশ করে ফেলাইছে। আমরা মানুষের কোনো নিরাপত্তা, কোনো সেফটি কোনো ফিউচার নিশ্চিত নাই। এটা বন্ধ করতে হইব এবং এটার লাগি আমরা মানুষের জাগাইতে হইব। আর জাগাইতে হইব হাসা মাত দিয়া, মিশা মাত নাই। খেরোর বিরুদ্ধে আমরা কোনো দুশ্মনী নাই। আমরা কথা হইল সমাজের মানুষের নিরাপদ থাকার অধিকার আছে এবং কাউন্সিলরে এই ব্যাপারে দায়ী করার আমরা অধিকার আছে এবং যারা এফেক্টেড তারার অধিকার আছে এবং কাউন্সিলর যা পয়সা পাইয়া যারা কাউন্সিলর আছেন এরার দায়িত্ব হইল মানুষের কাছে যাতে কাউন্সিলে হাসা মাতে সার্ভিস দেয়, বেইমানি করে না, এটার ব্যবস্থা করতা। আর তারা কাউন্সিলর মেয়র সিস্টেম রে বদলাইবার লাগি একটা কাম করতে পারেন। এই কাউন্সিলর হলে মেজরিটি মিলিয়ে একটা ডিসিশন তারা মোশন পাস করতে পারেন বলে আমরা এই মেয়র সিস্টেম চাই না। একটা মেয়রাল সিস্টেম চাই না, একটা ডিসিশন তারা নিতে পারেন। দে ক্যান ডু ইট, and তারা এটা নিতে আমরা চাই। আর উই আর আস্কিং দ্য এক্সিস্টিং কাউন্সিলর্স ইন টাউনহাউস কাউন্সিল to make a motion, pass a motion, and say that they will get rid of the mayoral system. Okay, so this is the end of this bulletin. It's ending at 23:57 hours GMT, and on Wednesday, the 29th of July 2020, and it is midnight 57 UK time on Thursday, the 30th of July 2020. And we wish everyone Eid Mubarak, Eid al-Adha, and আমরা আশা করি আপনারা যেন আছেন নিরাপদে থাকবা আর একে অন্যের লগে সমর্থন দিয়া, সাপোর্ট দিয়া, সমবেদনা দেখাইয়া আপনারা ঈদ রে পালন করবা। আর বড়াই করিয়া নাই, আর পয়সার বড়াই করিয়া নাই। যে গরো খান্দাত বা দেশ যে গরিব আছে, খাইতে পারেন না বা অভাব আছে, যতক্ষণ পারেন আপনারা সাহায্য করবা আর সমর্থন দিবা আর সমবেদনা জানাইবা। খুদা হাফিজ, গুড ইভিনিং।